Whoa, what's going on, people? This your boy SportsTalkQue, and today I'm here to give y'all my Week 2 college football playoff rankings. Per y'all request this week, I'm not gonna do just the top four. I'm gonna give y'all my predictions on who I think will be seeds 1 through 8. Now, before I get into my 8 seed, I want to give a huge shout out to the Tulane Green Wave over there on St. Charles Avenue, right there in Uptown New Orleans. As of right now, they're currently ranked number 19 in the entire country, and they are the only Group of Five team that's ranked in the college football playoff rankings. So, they only have one loss on the season. They're doing major things, but they have a tough road ahead of themselves. So, they have 3 games remaining against SMU, against UCF, who's ranked number 25. They're the only other team from the Group of Five that's ranked in the college football playoff rankings. And then they finish the season against Cincinnati, who was last year's at-large bid that made the actual playoffs. So, shout out to those boys for their continued success. I want to give a huge shout out to Willie Fritz and Michael Pratt, the quarterback, doing the thing over there, leading those guys to their most successful season since 1998, and I hope they keep winning. But with that out the way, let's get into these top 8 rankings. Coming in at number 8, we have the University of Southern Cal, the USC Trojans. So when the school announced that they were going to hire Lincoln Riley as their head coach, and he brought quarterback Caleb Williams with him, everybody knew what to expect. A show of all shows and just a potent, high-flying offense, and that's exactly what you get out of USC from week to week. And that's why this is one of my favorite teams to watch all year. They had to slip up earlier this season against Utah, but since then, they've been rocking and rolling, and, as long as they keep winning, they're going to keep rising in the rankings. So for right now, that's my number 18. Shout out Caleb Williams. Keep doing your thing. He looks to be a Heisman contender. He might get the invite to the New York Athletic Club next month. So that out the way, let's get to number 7. Coming in my next spot, it's going to be a little bit of a surprise because I'm assuming a lot of people going to feel like they should be ranked higher. But at number 7, I have the LSU Tigers. Coming off a huge upset win this past weekend over the University of Alabama, finally exercising that demon once again. This is only their second win against the Rolling Tide in the past 11 years, so people are excited about that. But LSU still has a pretty daunting road ahead of them. Before they get to the SEC championship game, they still have to win one of their next 2 games remaining against Arkansas and Texas A&M, which are winnable games. So I don't want to discredit that, but it's not an automatic thing that they're going to go to the SEC championship. I will say, with quarterback Jaden Daniels, he had a phenomenal performance, and aside from that, the defense played really well, and those guys played lights out. And Brian Kelly, he's riding the ship at LSU, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out for those guys. But as of right now, they are my 7th ranked team. Now, ahead of LSU at number 6, I have the University of Tennessee, the Volunteers. They had a pretty bad weekend this week. Previously they were the number 1 team, but they lost to Georgia in pretty convincing fashion, and they didn't look the part as which they looked, throughout the season up until that point. And because of that, the Volunteers no longer control their own destiny. That's why I dropped them from number 1 to number 6. And you might be wondering why I still have them ahead of LSU. And as of right now, I only have them ahead of the Fighting Tigers because they beat them head-to-head. And although Tennessee does not control their own destiny, there is a small outside chance that they could creep back into the top 4 if there's a massive implosion of all the teams ahead of them, which I'm going to name, pretty shortly. But like I said, I pretty much expect Tennessee to stay pat, and if LSU keeps winning and they get to the SEC title game, they can't jump Tennessee. But as of right now, I still, because of that head-to-head, I still have Tennessee ranked above LSU. So above Tennessee at number 5, I have the University of Oregon, the Ducks. So Bo Nix, the quarterback that transferred from Auburn, a lot of people wrote him off once he transferred from there, but it seems like since he's got to Eugene, he's had a resurgence of his career, and he's playing a lot better, and because of that, the Oregon Ducks, they're on the brink of cracking the top four. They're right outside of it, and those guys are playing, some of the best football in the country, and running back Marquise Pouncey Irvin, he's running the ball extremely well, and those guys, they're firing on all cylinders, and they look to be a undestructible force right now. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out in the Pac-12 with those guys and USC if they meet in the conference title game and whatnot, because I'm looking forward to seeing that fireworks show if they do meet up. But as of right now, I do have Oregon as my number 5 team in my second week of the playoff rankings. So let's get into this top 4. So because of all the chaos that ensued this past weekend, the team that benefited the most from that was TCU, because they are my number 4 team in this week's ranking. With quarterback Max Duggan, he seems to be another contender for the Heisman Trophy, so I wouldn't be surprised if he finds his way in New York next month at the Downtown Athletic Club, because he's playing some great football right now. He's leading TCU to pretty much their best ranking in like the past, decade or so. So those guys are playing amazing. They're playing phenomenal. They have a pretty easy path to the Big 12 title game, and provided they don't lose, between now and the end of next month, they should be, in the college football playoff ranking, and that's my number 14 for right now. At my number 3 spot, it should be no huge surprise, the same team I had last week, the University of Michigan. And, they're continuing to steamroll everybody they play against. Their latest victim was Rutgers. They went up there and they beat those guys pretty handily. Running back Corum Blake had a phenomenal game. He had about 3 touchdowns on the ground, and when he gets the ball in his hands, he makes guys miss, and he just makes amazing things happen. Also, you have quarterback J.J. McCarthy, who, he made my list of top quarterbacks going into the season, and he's continuing to play well. And like I said, Jim Harbaugh, he has those guys steamrolling the competition, and I'm looking forward to seeing them face off with Ohio State at the end of this month to see who will win the Big Ten West title and represent them in the conference championship game, because that's going to be a game for the ages when it happens. So, again, coming in at number 2, right above Michigan, is The Ohio State University, the same team I had at number 2 last week. Again, those guys had a pretty daunting test this past week going up against Northwestern in some unideal weather conditions, and, they were tested, but they came out on top. They pulled away late. They showed me what they were made of when they got down early, but they didn't quit. They kept their composure. C.J. Stroud, he remained poised, and he found his running game and whatnot. And I'm just impressed with those guys. So they are my number 2 team, and my top team in the ranking, it should be no surprise again, is the University of Georgia. They are my number 1 team, and I want to apologize because I disrespected those guys last week, having them at number 3 and saying that they looked kind of lackadaisical going into the season. They must have heard me, because the defense came out firing on all cylinders. They made the University of Tennessee, who looked like the best team in the country, look like they didn't even belong on the same field with those guys. The defense played lights out, and on the other side of the ball, quarterback Stetson Bennett, he looked really sharp. He had the offense firing on all cylinders. He had a great day up there against Tennessee this past Saturday, and those guys, they look really sharp, and until further notice, they put the country, on notice that they are the number 1 team, and they are who they say they are. So I want to give the University of Georgia all their props and all the respect that they deserve. Put some respect on their name. They showed me last week. They made me into a believer. So until they lose, they will remain the number 1 team in the country, and I will not disrespect them again. So there you have it. So yeah, those are my top 8 teams for week 2 of the college football playoff rankings. I guess we will see how things play out tonight when the official rankings are released, but that's who I think the top 8 teams should be. So y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna keep hitting y'all with these videos and more dope content. So until next time, man, I'ma holla at y'all. Peace.